Hey, this is Seagrove, and today I want to talk to you about a survey that I created on SurveyMonkey and that I shared on Verbank for people to do. And yeah, so there were some issues with it, and we'll get into that. I'll just explain as I go. But first, I want to show you the actual survey and the results. The first question was, for how many years have you been playing the Pokemon TCG? And I only put 5 choices: less than 1 year, 1 to 2 years, 3 to 5 years, 6 to 10 years, and more than 10 years. Um, and then the second question, well, you can see the responses here. Most people actually were 1 to 2, and then 3 to 5 was very close. So we have a lot of new players coming to the game. We know that. I'm actually in this 1 to 2 range because this would be 3 up to 5 and 364 days. So I'm pretty close to 3, I guess. Actually, not really. Anyways, I'm 2. I'm in this range. Anyways, second question was, how much CP do you currently have? It was fill in the blank. I thought about putting a slider in there, but I was afraid that would discourage people from doing it. Question 3, what is your age division? Masters were 98%. Because I only had 2 seniors respond. Well, okay, so this is the first problem with the with the survey was SurveyMonkey only allows 100 responses if you are not a pro member. So there's that. So of my 100 responses, my first 100, went up to 133 before I closed it because I realized that, but it only shows me the first 100. So 2 were seniors, so I ended up throwing that data out because there were only 2 of them. On a scale of 1 to 10 was the fourth question, with 1 being not very skill intensive and 10 being very skill intensive. How skill intensive is the Pokemon TCG? And no one put 1 through 3, which was surprising. I was surprised by the you sort of expect it to be a normal curve, and it's getting there. There's obviously a hard line here, so that sort of skews it. Anyways, but I was surprised by how what's the word? I want to say saturated. That's what I'm looking for. How consolidated? That's not it either, but you get the idea. The data is here into these 3, 6, 7, and 8 were like way bigger than everything else, especially 7 and 8. So I was a bit surprised by that, but I guess that makes sense with it makes some of the results make more sense. So now I wanted to look at some of the findings I had when I broke it down, and I put it in an Excel spreadsheet, which I'm not very good with Excel, but I also put it in a calculator, which I am pretty good with, to look at my findings. And so obviously the sample size was actually very biased because it's a voluntary survey. It's only people who are in Verbank, which is a significant portion of the competitive community anyways, but then it was only up for a few hours of the day in the early afternoon. So it's just, there's a lot of issues. But this isn't like a super scientific survey anyways, so yeah. So here's what I was able to find. I think I was most interested in the 2 variable statistics to see a correlation between skill intensive rating of the game and CP, and I expected the higher CP you had to be, that's this bottom part, to be the more CP you have, the harder you rate the game, or the more skill intensive you rate the game, I should say. But the slope was basically 0, is barely positive. So yes, it was positive. The higher CP you have, the more likely you are to say the game is more skill intensive. But it was barely a positive slope, very close to 0. And then R squared was terrible, 0.01, which is really, really bad. And then I took out everyone with 50 or lower. There were a lot of zeros, and those could be really skewed for a number of reasons. And then I took out everyone with 50 CP or fewer or less. CP is a little weird because of its meaning as an abbreviation. We treat it differently for whatever reason. But anyways, fewer or less, whatever you want to say. And then R squared for that was 0.04, which is still awful. And the slope was actually a little bit higher, and the fact that 0.001 was a little bit higher. Obviously, if I had done on a scale of 1 to 100, it would have been better. But, yeah. So, what I was hoping to find, I didn't really find at all. So, but there were some interesting things in the one variable statistics that I looked at. First of all, average CPU of people who responded was 120. Average skill intensive rating was 725. So we'd expect everything to be relatively close to this. I'll skip this for a second. If we look at people with 1 to 99 CP, they said 7.4. That seems about right. In the hundreds, 7.3. Okay. In the 200s to 300s, said 7. That's still close enough that it didn't really raise any eyebrows for me. But the real difference is in the people who said 0, who had 0 CP, rated the game at 6.88. And the skill in terms of skill intensity, I don't know if that's a word. And people with 400 CP or higher gave it an 8 on average. So that's a 1.1 point difference, which I think is somewhat significant. Again, if my data weren't such small sample size, et cetera, et cetera. But I do think I would probably have similar results on a larger and less biased scale. I think I mentioned some of the reasons why it was biased, like the time of day and the shortness of it being open, and it's a voluntary survey and things like that. But anyways, I think this is probably going to be low for a few reasons. Probably what I was expecting, and I didn't find, was that people rated the game more skill intensive as they got better. On the whole, there wasn't a good slope, a good line of best fit for that. But I'm guessing that is some of the reason why people with 0 CP say it's not skill intensive. But I bet another reason is they don't play. And people who maybe quit the game but still lurk on Verbank would say it's less skill intensive and they have 0 CP because they haven't played. And then the other reason, again, being what I was hoping to find originally, that people who don't do as well think the game is easier and more luck-based and less skill intensive, and that's why they say it's easier. Anyways, other than that, I did it by how long people have been playing as well. I sort of put that in there as a distractor, but figured I'd go ahead and get the data on it. People who've been playing for less than 1 year said it was a 7. People who've been playing 1 to 2 said it was 7.4. People playing 3 to 5 said 7.19, just very close to people who've been playing it 1 year or less. And so people playing 6 to 10 said 7.4, which is the same as 1 to 2. And then people playing 10 or more said 6.9, which was the lowest. But that's back and forth. And I am not confident that I would see that pattern again if I did a larger and survey with a better sample size and a better random sampling. So that's what I found. Not really as interesting as I'd hoped, but I figured some people would be interested in my findings because I put the survey out there and they took the 30 seconds it took to take the survey to do that for me. So thanks for watching, and peace.